The other question I had is, I'm not an economist, so I don't really understand these things. But as I understand it, if the federal government did what you're doing and just print more money, it would lead to inflation. But since you're doing it on such a small scale and such it's so local, it seems like it wouldn't do a dent. But if every community had a local currency, or maybe similar to like Japan, would that lead to some kind of inflation? Would it create more problems than just having one really successful local currency?
Um, well, we are careful about the amount that we issue so that there's not a semblance of inflation. I mean, to put it in practical terms, uh, as I described, it costs $10 to join the system, and you get $20 worth of the local money back. Like every once in a while, we might have a new board member who would say, well, why don't we really jumpstart the thing by you put $10 in and you get $50 back worth of Ithaca hours. And we sort of have the feeling that that might flood the market a little bit. And so we have always kept the ratio of 1 to 2. And I think I don't see that changing. So we are, sensitive to issues uh, like that. Um, but in terms of there being more local currencies, as far as I can see, the more the better. Because, and this is what they see in Japan. In Japan, there are about 40 of them, and they're all sponsored by the government. The government actually runs them. And when they come over here to interview us, that's always like the hardest thing for them to understand is that citizens did this in Ithaca, and we don't have anything to do with the government. They actually just can't even fathom that. That's always the hardest point for them to comprehend. Um, because in Japan, what they have figured out, I think, is that if you've got, pretty much the more prevalent that these local currencies might be, it's beneficial to the larger system because, if you've got $100,000 worth of circulation, and people are able to take care of their little purchases like that. Like I want to go to the coffee shop, I'll use Ithaca hours, or I want to generate. I mean, it's helping people to do healthy things, like generate more income for themselves in a way that they might not be able to otherwise. Like I described before, like say I can paint houses or repair cars, or I'll do dog walking or anything like that. But how do you let people know that you do that? Besides your immediate neighbors or your family, or you hang a sign in the laundromat, it's not going to be very effective. So we're really generating employment for people, and it gives them more disposable income or even indisposable income. But like I said, what they figured out in Japan is that this is a way for like a locality to keep its economy hot. And so if in Ithaca you can use Ithaca hours to do a few $1,000s worth of transactions in a year, well, maybe half of those transactions you wouldn't have done otherwise. So that's a good thing. And say the other half, if you're able to use hours instead of dollars, then you can save the dollars, and that's a good thing. This year or last year, whatever, recently is the first year that in the United States the savings rate is zero. We're actually below zero for the first time since the Great Depression. The people are actually, they don't have any extra money. So I think that by having a wide range of local currencies, that would help with that problem. So yeah, it would be a great thing if it happened, and that's why we're interested in doing a lot of outreach because I mean it is surprising to me that we haven't had any national leadership looking at this yet. Although actually, now that I think of it, we have just recently. Um, we were sort of joking about in the past month there was a story about in the state of California they had to issue IOUs to their own employees and to other vendors and like that because they just didn't have any money and they didn't have a budget passed. So they were issuing IOUs. So our board were meeting and we were sort of joking and we were saying, hey, we should give Schwarzenegger a call. It's like, why not, IOUs? Why don't you just make your own money? Like in for a dime, in for a dollar, just do the whole thing. So we were just kind of kidding about it. But then a week later, we got a phone call from somebody who is running for governor in California. And he's talking to local currencies because apparently this is going to be a platform in his campaign. So now all of a sudden governments are starting to look at it because I don't know. I guess it's one of these things that they, for a long time they didn't do it because it makes too much sense. So now, because they're sort of in a position of being forced to do something that makes a lot of sense, they're going to get around to doing it. Same as like having health insurance for people and things like that, and not invading countries and stuff like that. Yeah, when push comes to shove and they're forced to do something that makes sense, I guess they will. So something to be hopeful about.